This is Mike. Mike is a route salesman for Mission Foods, but today he's also a trainer because he'll be showing you how to use your two best friends on the job, your handheld computer, handheld for short, and the portable printer it works with. You'll see how to use them, when to use them, and why. And you'll learn how to take care of them too. Let's start by answering a basic question. What are these things for? Basically, the handheld is a small computer that stores information on your products and customers, keeps track of your inventory, and creates invoices. At the end of the day, the handheld allows you to transmit all this information back to Mission Foods so you can get paid and download new information to keep the handheld up to date. The printer is used to print out invoices as well as lists and reports you'll need. The best way to show you how you'll be using these devices is to follow Mike on his route. But first, let's take a look at their basic functions. The company uses two types of handhelds, the Intermec 6100 series and the smaller 600 series. Both devices operate in much the same way. Most Mission route salesmen use the 6100, so we'll focus on it and note any differences in the 600. For example, the keyboard on both are the same, but reversed. On the 6100, the numeral 1 is in the lower left corner, and on the 600, it's in the upper left. The first thing to know is that on both devices, the Enter key also means yes. The Escape key also means no. Press Enter, yes, to accept information or execute a function. Press Escape, no, to reject information or bypass a function. Several of the number keys are also used to operate the handheld. To activate these control functions, press the Control key at the same time as the appropriate number key. Pressing Control 9 turns on the display backlight so you can read the screen in the dark. Control 7 increases the screen's contrast, which you may need to do to make the display easier to read. Control 8 decreases the contrast. Use Control 5 and Control 2 to scroll up or down through a list. On the 600 series, you can also scroll by using these buttons on the side. Your handheld has a touch screen. That means you can select a function simply by touching the screen with your finger or with the stylus attached to the handheld. Let's take a look at the printer. This is the Model 4820, which pairs up with the 6100 series handheld. The 600 series handheld uses the Model 6820 printer. The two printers differ in small details, but operate much the same way. Both use standard fan-fold perforated printer paper pulled through the carriage by their sprocket wheels. This is called a tractor feed system. To load the 4820, release the latches and the lid and take the lid off. Then release these latches on the sides of the carriage and tilt it up. The 6820's carriage does not have those latches. It is held down by the lid itself. Remove leftover paper by opening the gates and gently pulling it back through the carriage. A stack of about 30 pages is enough for the day. If you add too much paper, it will jam the printer. Lower and latch the carriage. Flip up the gates over the sprocket wheels and place the end of the first page over the sprockets. Fit the perforations evenly on the pegs and close the gates. Next, raise the bail arm and press the Set Top button. Then press the Advance button. The printer will automatically thread the paper through and locate the top of the page. Now press Advance to feed the full page through the carriage. This will tell you if the paper is feeding correctly. Pass the paper through the slot in the lid, check to make sure the gates over the sprocket wheels are closed, and replace the lid. To test the 4820, press the two gray buttons at the same time. The printer will run a test sheet. To test the 6820, press the Set Page pad after threading the printer, then press and hold the Form Feed and Set Page pads at the same time. Both the handheld and the printer depend on battery power, so it's important to charge them overnight to make sure they have plenty of juice for the next sales run. To charge the printer, simply plug its AC cord into a wall outlet. To charge the handheld, plug it into its wall charger and plug the charger into a standard household AC outlet. Some units come with a cradle. Plug the cradle into the wall outlet, then slip the handheld into the cradle. Now, follow Mike through a typical day so you can see how you'll be using the handheld and printer to manage your business. To turn on the 6100, press the I/O key. The 600 has a button on the side. The first screen that comes up is the main menu. Since this is the beginning of the day, start with the first option on this list, Start of Day. To select it, touch it, or press 1 on the keypad. Now key in your security code. This is the same as your 6-digit SAP account number. If you entered the code correctly, the screen displays your name and the route number along with the time and date. Check to make sure all that information is correct. If it's not, all of your transactions for the day will be recorded incorrectly. Truck ID numbers are not used. To skip over this step, press Enter 3 more times. This takes you back to the main menu. The next thing you'll want to do is print out your inventory list and some other information stored in the handheld. To do a printout, place the handheld in its dock on the printer. Insert the upper end of the handheld into the spring-loaded keeper and gently push it forward. Lower the handheld into the cradle and carefully let it slide back so that the socket of the handheld connects with the matching plug on the printer. Do this very carefully. Never allow the keeper to spring back and ram the handheld into the plug. These contacts are very easily damaged. If you get bent or misaligned, the handheld won't be able to talk to the printer. With the handheld docked in the printer, select item number 2 on the main menu, List. This gives you a choice of several reports that you can print out at any time. The handheld keeps a running inventory of the products on your truck. You literally can't sell a product if the handheld doesn't know you have it. So you'll need the QOH report quantity on hand. To select that option, press 1 and enter, or simply touch it on the screen. Of course, you can read these lists right off the handheld's display. Right now, though, you'll find it easier to work with the printout in your hand. As a new distributor, you'll also want a printout of all products list. This shows the product code for every Mission product you can sell. It's something you are going to refer to frequently. To print it out, select option 3. All Customers is a list of the customers on your route. You'll find it handy to have a printout of this list too. To print it, select option 4. Another important report is Promotions. This lists the products available at a discount to each of your customers. It shows you how much discount they get along with the beginning and the ending dates of each discount. These are the preliminaries. Now it's time to hit the street. Before loading the truck, you need to make sure that the contents of your pallet matches the load information already stored in your handheld. To do that, you need to print out a load sheet. From the main menu, select Inventory Control. You get a menu that looks like this. Select Load Product to add products to the handheld's inventory. Again, you cannot sell a product if the handheld doesn't know about it.
If a load is available for this day, that is, if a load has been ordered, you'll see a menu with a manual load option and a second line with numbers that describe the load quantities and dollars for an available load. If no load has been ordered for this day, it'll skip this menu and go directly to manual load, then key in the items you need one at a time.
On this day, a load is available, so you select Load to automatically fill all the line items for the load. At this point, the handheld displays these choices: Print, Adjust, and Accept. Dock the handheld in the printer and select Print Loadout. Use the load sheet printout to check the pallet. Let's say you're short 1 tray of corn tortillas. You'll need to adjust the inventory to reflect this. From the Load menu, select Adjust Loadout. This message, End of Scroll, simply means that you're at the end of the list. At the bottom of the screen are 3 rows of touchscreen buttons. Touch the one marked F1. Now enter the product code from the item you need to adjust and press Enter. The handheld displays the name of the product associated with that code, along with a place to enter the quantity. Notice the error on the quantity line. When it's pointed to the left, the handheld registers quantities in case lots. When the arrow pointed right, it registers units or eaches. Usually, you load in cases and sell in eaches. That's because the warehouse only ships products in case lots. To change the arrow's direction, touch the appropriate arrow button on the screen. In this case, the left arrow to enter one tray of tortillas. Key in the corrected quantity and press Enter. As you can see, the unit knows the number of eaches to a tray. Since that's the only item to adjust, press Escape twice to get back to the load menu. At this point, you could accept the load and print out a corrected load sheet. But you may not be done. Let's say that the stack fell over in your truck and some fresh product was damaged. You can't sell it, so you have to unload it, and not only from the truck, but also from your handheld's inventory. To do that, press Escape again to get back to the inventory control menu and select Unload Fresh Damaged. From this menu, select Adjust. Again, you're at the end of the list, so you touch the F1 button on the screen. Enter the item code from the damaged product and the quantity. In this example, you're going to unload 6 eaches, so you point the arrow to the right, key in the quantity, and press Enter.
Then press Escape twice to get back to the Unload Fresh Damaged menu.
If you're ready to accept the load, you select Accept. You enter your security code, and the handheld automatically prints out an updated load sheet that reflects your actual inventory. It then waits for you to accept it by pressing Enter. Notice that on this load sheet, there's a signature line where you sign your name to verify that you have accepted the load. The inventory menu also gives you options for unloading fresh, undamaged merchandise if a customer decides not to buy certain products, for example. Sometimes distributors obtain product from each other when they're short of a few items. The handheld helps keep track of transfers in and out of inventory. Transfers are off the books as far as the company is concerned, so the handheld won't include them in the information it transmits to the home office. With the load checked and on the truck, you're ready to go see your customers. The first is a privately owned convenience store. After you check the shelves to see what's needed, you can pull the product from the truck and build a sales invoice. To create a sales invoice, start at the main menu and select Sales. Then, from the Sales menu, select Sales Invoice. This takes you to the Customer Selection screen. This is a list of all your customers. Scroll through the list to find the one you're servicing. When you find it, press Enter. The next screen shows the departments to be serviced. Since this convenience store does not have multiple departments, you just press Enter. This brings up a sales menu for this customer. Sales is used to create a sales ticket for the store. Return sales is used to credit the store for out-of-date items that must be returned. With Return Fresh Buyback, you can credit the customer for the items you buy back to sell somewhere else. Returns Damage creates a credit for damaged product. Print Ticket generates a paper copy of the invoice. And Spool Ticket holds a ticket in the handheld's memory instead of printing it out right away. The other options are not used. Right now, you want to build a sales invoice. So, select Sales. After you become familiar with the products, it may be easier for you to enter the product code and quantity directly. Here's how. At the product screen, press F1. Key in the product code and press Enter. Then key in the quantity and press Enter. When you finish, press Escape to get back to the individual customer sales screen. Once the products are pulled, you can print an invoice for this customer. Select Print Ticket and place the handheld in the printer. If the ticket is correct, press Yes to accept. If not, press Escape to go back and make corrections. When you accept the ticket, the printer adds a signature line to the invoice where the store's receiving clerk will sign to accept it. The handheld shows the payment due from the customer. It knows that this is a cash customer, so it displays the place for you to confirm the payment. Enter the customer's check number, or 9999, if they are paying in cash, and press Enter twice. Let's review the basic sales process again. From the main menu, choose Sales. From the Sales Function menu, choose Sales Invoice. Find the customer on the customer list. Key in the account code and press Enter twice. Choose the department, choose Sales, select Products and enter quantity. When finished, press Escape to get back to the Sales menu. And print ticket. Well, Mike's next stop is at a major supermarket. The sales process here will be a bit more complicated than at the convenience store, involving some additional transactions. The process begins the same way, with creating a sales invoice. From the main menu, choose Sales, then Sales Invoice, and select the customer from the list. As you can see, at this store, you have 3 different departments to service: deli, grocery, and meat. Let's start with the first option, the deli department. You create a sales invoice from the deli department just as you did at the convenience store. But this time, you don't need to print the sales ticket right away. Since you have more departments to visit, you select Spool Ticket. This feature stores the invoice in the handheld, in a temporary memory section called the spooler. Later, you can print all the tickets from this store at the same time. If the sold information is correct, press Enter 3 times, which takes you back to the Sales Function menu. While stocking shelves, pay close attention to the date codes on the packages. If you find stales, you'll need to remove them and generate a credit invoice for the customer. From the Sales menu, select Return Stales. From this point, the process is the same as building a sales invoice. Again, you spool this ticket to save it until you're finished in all the departments. In the grocery department, stock the shelves and create a sales invoice for grocery just as you did for deli, and spool it with the others. But here, you find some damaged items. Damaged packages reflect poorly on both the store and Mission Foods. Again, you want to remove them and give the store credit. From the Sales Function menu, you select Returns Damage and follow the same steps involved in creating a sales ticket. Again, you spool the ticket instead of printing it out. You can see that if you don't spool these tickets, you'll spend a lot of time running back and forth to the truck. Spooling them is more efficient. In the meat department, we use the same sales process, but here you find some products that are about to go out of date. You know that this product is selling quickly at one of your other stores, so you decide to buy back this product from this customer. Naturally, you need to create a separate invoice for this, so at the Sales Function menu, choose Return, Fresh, or Buy Back. You complete this invoice just as you've done the others, and spool it as well. Back at the truck, you place the handheld in the printer and select Print Spool Tickets to print out all the tickets that are being held in the spool. The handheld integrates the different invoices and shows you what the store now owes. But in this case, instead of giving you a place to key in the check number, the handheld gives you the option to build a DEX file. What's that? DEX is short for data exchange. What this means is that you're going to transmit these invoices directly to this customer's home office. They will pay Mission Foods, and Mission Foods will credit you for the sales. To start this process, select Build DEX File. Unless you're going to keep track of your mileage, some distributors don't bother. Just press Enter twice to skip over this step. When the handheld is ready, it will come back to this menu. The information is ready to transmit. But first, you must plug the handheld into the customer's DEX system. The unit comes with a cable specifically for DEXing. This end attaches to the handheld. This jack plugs into the store's DEX facility. Lots of companies use this system, so you won't have any trouble finding the DEX location. To initiate the DEX, simply connect the cable as directed and select DEX transmission. When the handheld has transmitted the invoices, it shows DEX complete. Press Enter. You'll review the order and invoices with the store's receiving clerk, who will accept the order into his own handheld. When his system has processed the information, you plug your handheld back into the DEX system and press Enter to receive the acknowledgement from the computer at the other end. Then Enter again to confirm it. The day doesn't end when you finish your route. When you get back to the office, you have several things to do. You must use your handheld to put together a load request for the product you need to restock your truck, to close all the transactions for the day, which we call check-in, and to TCOM your sales information to Mission Foods' main office. At the main menu, where we started the day, select option 8, Load Request. On this screen, you enter the date that corresponds to your next order day, which your district manager will coordinate with you. Needless to say, it's very important to enter the right date. Otherwise, you may not receive your order. On the next menu, choose Adjust. From this point, it's simply the familiar process of entering product codes and quantities. This function only accepts quantities in cases, because that's the only way the warehouse processes orders. When you finish, press Escape, Escape to get back to the previous menu. You now have the option to print a copy of the order, which makes it easier to double-check the order. Put the handheld in the printer and select Print Copy. You now have the option to go back and adjust the order if you spot an error. If it's okay, select Accept. If you accept, the handheld prints the ticket again and this time pauses to ask if you accept it. If you press Enter, Yes, to accept it, it finishes by printing a signature line at the bottom of the printout. This printout becomes part of your records. The handheld returns to the main menu. Once you have finished your load request order, you can close the day. To do that, select Check-in, key in your security code, and press Enter twice. Here is the check-in menu. The Unload Fresh, Unload Damaged, and Unload Stales options are there to use if you need them to help manage your inventory. With the sales and other invoices you've generated, the handheld already has this information. In fact, of the operations shown on this screen, the only mandatory function is Accept. When you select Accept, the handheld displays the settlement screen. You can use the first 4 functions or not, as you see fit. The only function that must be used is Print Settlement. The settlement report looks like this. It shows the monetary value of the inventory you started with this morning, the product you loaded, sales, returns, and so on. If all the numbers agree, you should see a balance of 0 at the bottom of the settlement report. But this is not mandatory. The handheld is a sales tool, not an accounting system. It won't force you to have a 0 balance at the end of the day. And the settlement report has no effect on your billing. As part of the check-in, the handheld will also generate a customer sales report showing sales for each location, a ticket summary showing every transaction that was run through the handheld on this day, and a check register showing all checks and cash payments you recorded. Once you've accepted all reports generated by the check-in process, you must transmit this package of information to Mission Foods. We call this process TCOM. It's the last step of the day and the most critical. To begin, plug the phone line into the connection on the top of the handheld and plug the handheld into its wall charger. The TCOM process draws a lot of power, so it's essential to TCOM only with the handheld plugged into the wall charger. If your system includes a cradle, plug the phone line into the modem that came with the cradle and place the handheld in the cradle. On the 600 series, make sure you can see a steady green light. This indicates that the handheld is fully charged and getting power from the cradle. You know the 6100 is getting power if the screen display remains on. Ordinarily, it goes blank after a minute to conserve its battery. But when it's getting power from the cradle, the display will remain on. In fact, you can't turn it off. When you're hooked up, select TCOM from the main menu. Normally, the only item you'll use from this menu is end-of-day TCOM. The other items are used by service personnel to set up your handheld. Select end-of-day TCOM. It will give you this message, ready to dial. Press enter. If you have a personal computer and a dial-up internet connection, this process will sound very familiar. You'll hear a dial tone, followed by tone pulses as the handheld calls the home office. You'll hear a screech when the other end answers, a rushing sound as the handheld and home office system negotiate a connection, then silence as they communicate. When the process is complete, you'll see this message, TCOM complete OK. Press enter, and you're done for the day. One other thing to remember, you cannot TCOM anytime you feel like it. You must TCOM within a specific time frame, from 12 noon to 10 p.m. local time. In other words, you must complete your TCOM by 10 p.m. your time, or your transactions for the day and your upcoming load requests will not be received. In case you have difficulty TCOMing, here are a couple of troubleshooting tips to remember. If you have another computer on the same phone line, the load on the phone line may prevent your handheld from establishing a connection. Disconnect the line from the other computer. If your handheld dials normally but drops the connection prematurely, it may be a low battery problem. Let your handheld charge for about an hour, then try it again. If your handheld won't even dial, you should check the telephone connection. If you are still unsuccessful, call technical support. Call them immediately. You must get the problem resolved before the TCOM window closes at 10 p.m. The main maintenance issue with either handheld is battery replacement. Virtually any other maintenance operation should be done only when you have a technical support person on the phone to guide you. To replace the battery in the 6100, flip it on its back and pull the hand strap back a little so you can see this latch. Push down on this tab, then slide the latch back and rotate the battery out of the well. You can check the condition of the battery very easily. See these 4 contacts? Moisten your fingertip and place it over the 2 contacts on the left. Notice that 4 little LED lights come on. 4 lights indicate a full charge. 3 indicate 75%, and so on. Put the new battery in, round in at the bottom, rotate it carefully into position, and it will latch in place. For the printers, the 2 main maintenance tasks are keeping the battery charged or replacing it, and keeping the transport and carriage mechanisms clean. You can check the condition of the printer battery by running a test sheet. If the printer is plugged into the wall outlet, the test sheet should show an input voltage of more than 14 volts. If it's running on battery, it should show more than 12 volts. If the printer has been plugged in for a while and you see a low voltage report, it's a sign that the battery is no longer holding a charge and should be replaced. Call technical support so they can ship you a new battery. To replace the battery, open and remove the lid, raise the carriage, and rotate it out of the way. Here is the battery, and here is the power lead connecting it to the printer. Unplug the lead, then lift the battery out of its bracket. Notice that the power lead is part of the connector plugged into the battery. This assembly stays with the printer, so be careful not to throw it away with the old battery. Unplug it from the old battery, plug it into the new one. Then slip the battery back into the bracket and reconnect the power lead. While you're waiting for your new battery, you can run your printer off your truck's cigarette lighter. But what happens if you plug it into the lighter and still don't have power? You may have a blown fuse in the cigarette lighter cable. Unscrew this end and carefully lift it out. You'll see an ordinary 5-amp fuse that you can buy almost anywhere. It's vital to keep the printer clean. Dirt and dust inside the printer can cause a lot of problems. So the first maintenance tip is keep the lid on. For routine cleaning, get a can of compressed air and use it every few days to blow out the paper shaft and dust. Also check the connectors on the ribbon cables under the carriage to make sure they're snug. These cables carry signals from the handheld to the printhead. This shiny bar is the printhead guide. If it gets dirty, the printhead may jam. To keep it clean and slick, get a paper towel, slip it under the guide, spray the towel with silicone or white lithium lubricant, and use it to polish the bar all the way across. Do the same for the rail the printhead runs on. As you're cleaning this rail, be careful not to push down on this drive belt or it will pop off the head. You'll find these and other maintenance and troubleshooting instructions in your handheld's user's guide. Study it carefully. And anytime you have problems or questions, don't hesitate to call the guys in technical support immediately. They're there to help you 24/7. Above all, treat the handheld and printer for what they are, important tools in your business. Your two best friends on the job. The key to your success as an independent distributor for Mission Foods is your ability to manage inventory, paperwork, and cash flow. These things depend on your ability to understand the settlement. Basically, the settlement is a determination of how much you make for a week. To run your business efficiently and profitably, it's important to know how to read and understand the settlement report. Every day, you're required to TCOM your sales invoices to Mission Foods. And every day, you must follow up with the corresponding paperwork, including cash invoices. Mission Foods processes that information and sends you a settlement report. It's a statement showing how much Mission Foods owes you or how much you owe Mission Foods. As a distributor, your business is based on buying products from Mission Foods and selling them to your customers, the stores on your route. You buy product from Mission Foods at the same price your customers buy it from you. Your income is derived from the margin discount Mission Foods allows you. The settlement report includes 2 documents. Let's start with the weekly account statement. This lists your total purchases, sales, and expenses along with the total balance for the week. The heading at the top shows your name and number and the period the report covers. The first section of the summary shows your potential gross profit for the week. Gross, meaning before expenses. This distributor purchased $10,000 worth of products for that week. His margin discount, 16%, is shown in this column. Therefore, his potential income for the week, his margin, is $1,600. 16% of $10,000. Notice the minus sign. A minus sign next to a number on this report represents an expense. A number without a minus sign represents income. Obviously, buying product is an expense, so this figure has a minus sign next to it. Ever so often, Mission Foods will promote a product by authorizing an allowance, that is, a discount on selected items. This allows stores to sell those items at a lower price for a specific time. In other words, to put those items on sale. The number below the total margin on purchases shows the margin discount on promotions, as you don't make discount on promotion dollars. The sum of all margin discounts on promotions is subtracted from the gross margin, leaving a total margin discount, the figure shown here. The next portion of the summary compares your total purchases of product for the week against your gross sales. Understand that the gross sales number is derived from the invoices you TCOM'd in. The example shows that this distributor put $10,000 worth of product on this truck and sold almost all of it. His gross sales, again, based on his invoices, totaled $9,500. The report shows that he has $500 in inventory still on the truck. That's why, in this example, truck inventory has a minus sign next to it. He hasn't sold this product yet, but he still must pay Mission Foods for it. That's why it's wise to create an invoice for cash transactions. If a cash transaction is not invoiced, it won't be processed and the system will overstate your truck inventory. For example, let's say that this distributor did $1,000 worth of cash business during the week, but he did not invoice those transactions. Therefore, they were not included in his settlement that week. As a result, his truck inventory shows an extra $1,000 in product still on the truck, when in fact it has already been sold. This brings up another point. It is tempting to put cash payments in your pocket, but this is not a good idea. Why? Because it's all too easy to spend cash or to lose track of it. Keep in mind that money from sales is not income. Your income is the money Mission Foods pays you back based on your margin discount. And this is affected by any money you keep from cash sales. The cash sales you report show up in the section of the account statement, along with other miscellaneous adjustments. Adjustments may include returns if you had to bring back any damaged or stale items from the stores. The cost of sales comes out of your pocket. Other expense items may include the rental of your handheld and printer, a share of a lease on the warehouse, or your participation in the optional group vehicle insurance plan. Now we have the information to calculate the new settlement for the week. By applying the deductions or credits for truck inventory and total adjustments to the total margin discount, we come up with the total new settlement for the week. This is your actual profit for the week. Without careful management, though, it could be a minus number, a loss. The account summary concludes with a line item showing any payment still owed to Mission Foods from the previous week, a total of cash and checks sent to Mission Foods for that week, and the final balance. In this example, the distributor had a good week. After expenses, he has a positive net margin, as shown here, and he has no previous balance to take care of. Therefore, he'll be receiving a check for this amount. What if he bought too much product or had to absorb the cost of too many sales? What if he neglected to turn in invoices for his weekly sales and did not get credit for them? Factors like these can hit the bottom line and turn settlements from profits to liabilities, money that you must pay to Mission Foods. Mission Foods wants to give you all the necessary information you need to better manage your business. That's why the settlement report includes this detailed report, a breakdown of all your purchases and sales for the week, every load, every invoice processed through our system for every customer. The detailed report groups transactions by day for each day of the week. It aligns each one with its invoice date, number, and customer. It indicates cash or credit sales, shows if you placed product on the shelf or returned it, quantity sold or returned, the gross amount of sales, cost of returns, your share of promotions, and your net margin. The first section of the detailed report gives you the details of all your purchases from Mission Foods. It will give you the date, invoice number, dollar amount, and margin for each load. If you returned any product to the warehouse, it will be listed here after the purchases. The second section shows details of every invoice for each day of the week, along with the date, invoice number, store name, and store number. It will show whether the customer is on cash or credit terms. If it's a cash customer, you'll find a C here. A blank space means credit. It shows the type of transaction, IN for invoice, RT for return, or BB for buyback. Other details here include the dollar amounts for gross sales, returns, promotion allowance, net, and margin impact. The third section of the report summarizes all those invoice details with separate lines for cash and credit transactions. The fourth section contains all the information regarding the payments you have made to Mission Foods. And the fifth section is a listing of unprocessed invoices. These will be invoices that you have TCOM'd but have not followed up with the actual paperwork. These are invoices for which you have not received credit. In other words, money waiting to be paid to you. If you have any questions about the totals shown on the account statement, you will most likely find the answers in the detail report. By studying it, you can also learn how to more profitably manage your inventory and purchases. If you need help understanding and using the information in these reports, contact your settlement accounting clerk at Mission Foods. The SAC will look at your numbers and provide you with expert advice. But we can't analyze numbers we don't have. That's why, again, it's a very good idea to invoice all your sales, cash and credit, through the handheld. And that's about it. Understanding your settlement report is very important. And as you've seen, it's also very easy. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call your Mission Foods route settlement representatives. Like everyone else at Mission Foods, they're here to help you succeed.